All right, has America been consumed by identity politics?
Republican governors and legislatures are erecting one barrier after another that make it harder for black people to vote. It's a blast from the Jim Crow past.
We would work on Japan and China and Mexico because they're taking our jobs, and I want to bring our jobs back.
The American people are sick and tired of billionaires running our economy and our political life.
Our next guest says this election has brought out the worst in us, and Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are making it worse, and then they also have Donald Trump in there. Joining us right now is Linda Chavez, who held numerous jobs in the White House under President Reagan and Bush 41. Linda, I saw you commenting before you were booked on the show. I thought it really stood out. How is this cycle different that's really disturbing you?
Well, you know, I don't mind people talking about political or philosophical differences. There are differences between Republicans and Democrats. But when we start going to race and ethnicity, I think that's really bad for America. And you just heard Hillary Clinton. I mean, she is explicitly making an appeal on a racial basis. Bernie Sanders isn't doing it on race. He's a Marxist. He's doing it on class. And Donald Trump, I think, unfortunately, when he starts talking about Mexicans as rapists and criminals, etc., he is appealing to the kind of white identity movement that is really not a part of what this country is all about. And I think it's bad, and it's bad across the board.
And now you say this is bad, this is a challenge. But, for example, if you want that sector, if you want the Hispanic sector, you got to carve that out. If you want the white voter, you got to do that. How do you expect to get these different sections of America without specifically going to the things they care about?
Well, I think you do it on the basis of issues. And, for example, Hispanics traditionally, over the last almost 50 years, have been voting in large numbers for Republican conservative candidates. Going back to the Nixon administration, you had a third of Mexican Americans voting for Richard M. Nixon. You had almost half of voting for Ronald Reagan, my old boss. And they weren't being appealed to on the basis of the color of their skin. They were being appealed to on the basis of political philosophy. And we need to get back to that. We need to get back to not talking about race and ethnicity. This country was built on the idea that we are from all over the world. We're an immigrant nation. But out of that many came one people, and that's what we've got to get back to. Forget about throwing race and ethnicity into this election. It's bad for America. It's not the route we want to go down.
Well, if you look at what's happening right now, do you feel as though that there's just more at stake now, so people are pulling out the kitchen sink, or do you think we view politics differently?
I think we view politics differently, and I think it's become a kind of us against them, and I don't like to see that. I mean, I could disagree with my Democratic friends, my liberal friends, but they're not the enemy. I don't think they're un-American. I don't think they're unpatriotic. I may think they're wrong, but I don't want to make them somehow the enemy. And I think we see it on both sides, and you're certainly seeing it on the Democratic side. And the Democrats have been doing this longer than the Republicans. I think they've been playing the race card for a very long time, but I don't like to see the people on the conservative side going there too. I don't like to see demonizing immigrants. I don't like to see the fact that, you know, Trump likes to lump everybody together. You know, when he talked in his opening about Mexicans, he wasn't talking about illegal immigrants. He said Mexicans are rapists. They're criminals.
Because they are, you know, he would say because they are the ones on our border, and he says that border has to be reinforced. His argument was, I'm not politically correct. I'm just worried about America's safety. But we'll see if there is a tactic behind that.
And if he's worried about America's safety, look at the facts. And the facts is Mexican-born men are less likely to commit violent crimes than American-born men. They have crime rates for violent crimes about the same rates as whites do.
Right.
And that's frankly interesting because it's not true of those born here.
He's more concerned of people sneaking into the country that don't belong here, not the ones that are here. Coming up straight in, Linda. Thanks. We're out of time. But thanks. Great column. You got to go read it. Linda Chavez, thanks so much.